The Siege of Caracas. A pre-dawn strike, a president seized, and a continent in shock. By Travis Trends. January 4, 2026. The silence of Caracas was shattered at 1:50 a.m. local time on Saturday. What began as a series of distant thuds rapidly escalated into at least 7 massive explosions that rattled windows across the Venezuelan capital, plunging entire neighborhoods into darkness and the nation into an unprecedented geopolitical abyss. By sunrise, the world learned that this was not merely a local disturbance or a tactical strike. In a move with few parallels in modern history, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that the United States military had conducted a large-scale strike against Venezuela, resulting in the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and First Lady Cilia Flores. The night the sky fell. Witnesses in Caracas described a scene of visceral terror. Low-flying aircraft screamed over the city's skyline as plumes of black smoke rose from strategic locations. The primary targets appeared to be the heart of the Venezuelan military apparatus, Fuerte Tiuna, the country's largest military complex, and the La Carlota military airfield. "The whole ground shook," said Carmen Hidalgo, a 21-year-old resident who was returning from a celebration when the first missiles struck. "We felt like the air was hitting us." While Venezuelan state television initially maintained a surreal calm, airing segments on folk music and art, the reality on the ground was a frantic scramble. As the power grid flickered and died in the southern districts, social media became the only window into a city under siege, filled with grainy footage of flashes lighting up the night sky. A brilliant operation, or imperial aggression. Speaking from his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, President Trump characterized the assault as a brilliant operation executed by great troops. He confirmed that Maduro and his wife were captured in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement and were being flown to New York to face criminal charges related to narco-terrorism. "We are going to run the country," Trump declared during a Saturday morning press conference, suggesting a transition period during which the U.S. would take an active role in managing Venezuela's vast oil reserves, a statement that has already ignited a firestorm of international debate regarding sovereignty and international law. The response from within Venezuela was one of fierce defiance. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez, appearing in a tactical helmet and bulletproof vest, denounced the barbaric invasion. "This invasion represents the greatest outrage the country has ever suffered," he stated, vowing that the Venezuelan people would form an indestructible wall of resistance. International alarm and legal shadows. The global community has reacted with a mixture of shock and condemnation. Colombian President Gustavo Petro immediately called for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, labeling the strike a military aggression, and warning of a massive influx of refugees as the region destabilizes. In Moscow, the Foreign Ministry issued a stern demand for the immediate release of Maduro and his wife, calling the capture an unacceptable encroachment on the sovereignty of an independent state. Closer to home, the legal justification for the strike remains a point of intense contention in Washington. Just months ago, administration officials had privately signaled to Congress that land strikes would require legislative approval. By bypassing that process, the White House has set the stage for a constitutional showdown over the limits of executive power in the name of national security. The road ahead. As of Sunday morning, Caracas remains a city of shadows and uncertainty. With their leader in U.S. custody and foreign combat helicopters having reportedly fired rockets into urban centers, the state of external commotion, declared by the remaining Maduro cabinet, signals a nation bracing for war. The capture of Nicolas Maduro marks the end of an era, but as smoke continues to drift over the peaks of the Avila Mountains, the question remains: is this the beginning of a democratic transition, or the start of a protracted, bloody conflict that will redefine the Americas for a generation? For the latest updates on the situation in Venezuela and the upcoming legal proceedings in New York, follow our live coverage.